Hi guys, part two. Getting into this session a little bit more in detail and the setup I'm using here in the studio for you guys who are interested in mixing and production. I use Logic, of course. We're talking about my single Joy and Pain, my version, my take on Frankie Beverly's big hit. The single just came out, so that's why I'm using this as an example. And first of all, I want to show you the layout I'm using. Obviously, if you're familiar with Logic, I got all the tracks here. And if I look at the mixer, what I'm doing, I have all the section. Actually, I have them color-coded for you guys, so it's a little easier to keep track. So I'm starting with the drums, which are red. And you see all the drums are here, all the individual tracks. Each mic, 2 kick drum mics, go feed into a kick track, and that fits into a drum bus. I get into a detail more about what I use processing wise, but I just want to show you the basic routing. From here, from the drum bus, I'm going down here to the drums, and these drums are sent to output 1 and 2. All my percussions are sent out to 3 and 4. The bass 5, rhythm guitar is 6, and lead guitar is 6. And then rhythm guitars, keys and melodies, and all separate outputs out of my mix stream. So I'm going 16 tracks out of Logic into my mix stream summing bus. And then I record everything back into Logic here on my recording bus. The reason I'm doing this is this just adds a certain fatness and harmonic distortion that you find in big mixing consoles that I still think is preferable to just mixing right in the box sonically. Subtle differences, and but you know, it's just the way I roll. I like it. It sounds fat. It also has a stereo expander. I like the mixes wide, so I can add a little width from that thing, and it's just beautiful. I love the way it sounds, so that's why I'm doing it that way. I'm running in these bus, so these will be basically then master controls for my different section: drums, bass, rhythm guitars, keyboards, effects, return, vocals, synths. So if I need to adjust like all the vocals, all the balances together, I can add a little automation, as you see right here. I also have a very slight bus compression on each of these outputs. I'm using the SSL. I like the Waves SSL compressor, and it's used in a very subtle way. It's the drums are probably most extreme, but I like it. So the needle is hardly moving. It's just a little bit to tame and take some of the spikes away. It's not a radical bus compression. That happens earlier when that's why I have buses into buses, you know, like here on this drum bus I have a little bit more tone shaping, so to speak, because I'm running again a compressor, but you see it's reacting harder. And I also have a tape emulator that emulates tape compression. So much for my basic routing setup, but let's look at the drums specifically, the kind of processing I used on the drums. Now, the drums were recorded by Gordon Campbell. He did it in his own studio. And let me just bypass all the effects I have on here. Is there like a mute all effect kind of thing? I think there is. Remove, bypass all effect plugins. Okay, so we hear just the, and there's really not bypassed all of them because I forgot to bypass all this. So that's already a pretty nice sounding drum sound. So Okay, what did I do to the kick? We have 2 drums, 2 mics. A little similar. And they're not bad. But with the SSL action on here. And a little limiter. That's a little much. I'll run it into neutron for further shaping. Transient designer for get the attack right with the EQ. Just a little extra boost of 60. By the way, I love using the neutron just to move right ahead on the bass. I have a neutron, and what I usually do, I have to delineate conflicts. You know, bass and kick drum, you usually run on the same frequency range, so to speak, and I want to hear both of them really strong. So I have the bass being ducked down, as you see, this automated by the kick drum signal. In other words, every time the kick drum hits, the bass EQ gets EQ'd down here around the 60 hertz area, which is right where the kick sits. And it creates space for the sound of the kick drum, and then it goes right back up so you don't miss it on the bass. The frequencies overlap, so you don't want one to cancel the other out. So I want to just give the kick the preference there because it's just short and then it's gone and the bass stays longer. So I cut that out on the bass, but I don't want to cut it out permanently. It's just when the kick hits is when I need to reduce the bass in this little frequency area. Just to demonstrate this in detail, here on the neutron for the bass, I use the bus 31, which is the 2 kick drum mics fed into bus 31 right here. You can see the 2 mics feed into, that's my kick drum channel. And I select it in the side chain. And now I can go to the equalizer here. And on this node, I set it to dynamic and sidechain, external signal from the sidechain. So this node right here, if I turn this, you can see on and off, is only affected by the signal that comes in from the sidechain. So if it doesn't hear signal, nothing happens. When I turn on the kick, you see the dip during the kick attack. So that's how you create some space between the kick and the bass. You hear the kick always, because kick has more than just one frequency. The high end of the kick comes through easy, but the low end from the kick just is heard better if you do something like that. That's one of the tricks I use, at least. Yeah. And that's why I like the neutron. It allows me to do these kind of things. Other than that, I mean, I did a little tone shaping on the snare. Let me see what I did here. I just want to hear one at a time. That's the top snare. Here's the bottom. The first thing you always got to check out are the 2 snare mics in phase. So with one mic pointing up, the other one down, you got a phase cancellation, so the signal would become very thin. So you can easily check that with a phase reverse button. Most plugins have that. And you can hear, oh, we're fading out, so there was a fake. Yeah. I don't know if you can, it sounds fatter in this position, means the 2 waveforms are in sync. So I added a little snap to the snare again, added some compression and limiting just to get my snare sound, and then again run it into neutron for further As far as effects, I used a little room reverb. Let me see, let me go back. And the whole thing running into this compressor. So go back to the overall drums. So actually mainly on the snare I used 2 different reverbs. I used, let me go over here. This little drum room. It's a nice little reverb. If I take it, now it's gone. Just here. Just gives it a nice little. It makes it look like it isn't. It sound like it's in the room. It's a really nice little thing. And then I added a vintage Lexicon vintage plate. I had hard times with the Lexicon plugins. They didn't update in a long time, and sometimes they're very fickle. So I'm trying to stay away from them, but they do sound beautifully. But hey, that's my drum treatment. As far as, let me see, a couple things about the lead guitar I wanted to talk to you about. Sounds like it's very much a lot of echo, but actually once you hear it in the track, but let's isolate what I got here. Let's look at the tracks. Where are the guitars? Sorry, bear with me. Here we are. So, you notice I have 2 lanes of guitars. This is a stereo track. And here's a mono tracks. Again, let me just mute the effects. So there you hear the sounds of the guitar. So, what I use for recording is the Camper. I used my a profile from my Wagner Ecstasy, and and I run this through the Neve, the dry signal, no effects, dry signal, just mono into the Neve. I also recorded the stereo output from the Kemper. And it has a little bit of ambience, like it sounds more like a room, like with the speaker emulation on it. And I'm blending the 2 together just to give the perfect, I'll just play with the different level balances. Hold on, let me get away from here. You see that the stereo portion of the sound is very, very weak. I didn't really use it prominently, just to give it a little bit more ambience. And then they add a shitload of effects, I guess. 2, what we have here. I love this reverb, by the way. Yeah. That's the 480 LX480 version 4 by Relab. Nice 480L emulation. That's a guitar room. Number 3. They used the Logic Space Designer. The plate, it's a larger plate. And just add a little bit that, and that gives it a nice big ambience. And then I'm running into a Sound Toys Effect Lab for a chorus effect. To the triple chorus. Just add some of that in there, like chorusing. And then my delay, I have a certain 20 to 90 setting. Now 2290, for those guys, you didn't grow up in studios, 2290 was a TC electronic delay, one of the first digital delays that had automated ducking abilities. And what that means is that you reduce the echo, the level of your repeats, your echoes, while the guitar is playing, so it doesn't sound like a Steve Hillage kind of washed out guitar sound. And as soon as the guitar stops, it opens up and blooms up, and you hear all the echoes and repeats come out. And I can emulate this in Logic by using a compressor with a sidechain. So here's the routing setup. My guitars feed into bus 27. These are all the effects, and one of the effects is my delay send. It's here, right? Number 6 goes to my delay channel. And I have, in the delay channel, I have a normal stereo delay, like little quarter note, 8 note stereo delay. And then I'm adding a compressor after the delay, which is this guy right here. And the compressor gets fed by the sidechain from that very same bus 27 guitar signal. So no matter how much I send here, this is always going to be controlled by the level of the guitar. So when I play the guitar, let me play back some. You see, this compressor is reducing the level of the delay when the guitar is playing. So you can hear with the short notes, after the notes you hear the echoes, but where the guitar is continuously playing, the delay is rather subdued and doesn't get in the way of the melody that you're playing. So that's just that trick I use for what I call my 2290 delay setting. The other rhythm guitar parts are very straight ahead. You see here on the main rhythm guitar, I don't have anything on it. Oh, that's a stereo guitar. Just a little reverb and a slight echo too. I recorded everything. I recorded all the guitar parts with my Kemper, by the way, on this song. Used different amp profiles, mostly my Ecstasy, but sometimes like a Fender amp, or just to give it variety, because you wanted to use, I used the Les Paul for most of the rhythm parts, and then the Valley Arts for the leads, and some of the Paddy sounds I used the Valley Arts for. I always like a big believer in having these labels here, so it's easier for me to find my way around in these sessions. You see I made my custom little if you see this, my hop, don't want to do this. How can I show this? I created some custom label. There's a picture of my guitar, there's a picture of my Les Paul, a picture of my acoustic, of my Fender, of a bass, and of the air effects. This way I can easily identify what is what in the track, and when the track gets so complicated, again we have like 100 lines here, 100 tracks. It's color coding and having labels on it really helps you finding parts. Having to scroll back and forth like that. Let me see, anything else we need to talk about? Let's check out the vocals. What did I do on the vocals? It helps if you have a great singer. I mean, like Johnny and Clydeen, they're both killer vocalists. It's nice because they take maybe 1 or 2 takes and they're done. You don't have to really fix a lot of stuff. So if you see on the vocal, I run them through Melodyne a lot of times just to check, to make sure, there's one of the notes that's, I don't want to wear them out. and ask him to redo a lot of stuff if it's that close, and if the feeling is right. If there's a note that's a little flat or sharp, I just fix it in Melodyne. So out of principle, I have a Melodyne on each vocal track. I do the same with saxes and horns and stuff, just to make sure the tuning is correct. And then the overall vocal, I'm running through a LA2A type a compressor, and that's it as far as like EQing. I'm not really EQing much on that. On the ad-libs, I might have, I added this guy. Here's one of my favorite guys. It's a Pultec emulation by T-Rex, and it's beautiful. It's very subtle, and it just adds a little bit of air and excitement without being obviously like it's an effect. And that's all it's on the vocal. Now I'm using, what I'm using here as far as using my favorite reverb as a vocal plate, and what is here? That's another 2290 type delay. So solo them.
It's like sunshine and rain, joy and pain. It's like sunshine and rain.
So on Claudine, what did I do on Claudine?
Joy and pain, like sunshine and rain. Joy.
As you can hear on Claudine, I use the same
Joy and
effects,
pain,
but no
like
really.
sunshine and rain.
I don't think I even used these. I think they were muted. I forgot now.
And pain, like
If I hear the bannings.
and rain. Joy and pain.
Yeah.
It's like sunshine.
Claudine has a thicker voice than Johnny. Johnny is very airy and Claudine is thicker, so I don't need the extra compression and effects. Claudine, it's just dry, and then add a little reverb and same kind of delay thing on there. Yeah, I mean, I hope this guys gets you some ideas how to set this up. And as I said, I'm using here, this is my mix track that I record into. I do it solo proof, because if you mute this track, you're not going to hear anything. The sound goes out into my mix box, comes back right in here. And then whenever you see this is mix 8, if I go back to a previous mix, you see one of the old mixes in here. And I just, whenever I do another revision of the mix, I like mixing and then go live with it for a day if I have the luxury to do so, or evaluate in my car at least, or another stereo system in the living room, and then come back and make some couple little adjustments, and I give it another number and make it. I have them all on the same track, so I have to set it up here. I like the track alternatives for that. Works great. Yeah, so that's basically how I set up the mix for this. If you have any specific questions, put them in the comments. Let me know what you think. If there's anything else I can answer, I'd love to do that for you. Just put in the comments or send me email, Nils at nilsmusic.com or Nils at nilsguitar.com. Both work. Check out my show Saturdays on YouTube at Nils Guitar, and I'll see you around. Okay, peace.